Record. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Meet the Maker series. Today, I am joined by the wonderful Pam from Windswept Fibres and Designs. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm absolutely thrilled and really excited to learn all about Windswept Fibres. So, welcome, and why don't you take a few minutes to introduce yourself?
Well, thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here, Anne. Thank you for the invite. I'm Pam Hines. I own Windswept Fibres and Design. I started dyeing about 3 years ago, and I opened a little shop it'll be a year now in April.
Wow, that's incredible. So, opening the shop. So, tell me about in some of the notes that you and I shared before we got together today. You talked about working in St. John's at cast on, cast off. So, tell me about. I mean, I think for all knitters and creatives, that's like the dream job, right?
It
To
really
work in a
was.
yarn store, right? So
Yeah.
tell me about getting that job and how you went from being an employee in that space to actually making the decision to go out on your own.
Yeah, so I had been away from knitting for 25 years, probably. My mom used to knit quite a bit for my kids. And it was just something, I guess I was busy with everything else. I hadn't picked up knitting in a long time. So I actually had a birthday gift given to me, just some cash. And I thought, I'm going to go out and buy some nice yarn and knit a sweater.
Nice.
Just hadn't done it in so long. So there was a local yarn shop here, Cast On, Cast Off, and I had not stepped in the door before. So I went down and met the owner, Katie, and fell in love with
Mm,
hand-dyed yarn. Had no idea it existed before then. And so I picked out a pattern and didn't know about Ravelry. That was a whole
right.
whole spiral down there. Um, but I picked up some Julie Aslin yarn, fell in love with it, and I just couldn't stop after that. So when Katie advertised that she was hiring, I
Mhm.
contacted her right away and said, I need this job. So at the time, it was just, I think, like 10 hours a week. And that was fine. I was happy to
Sure.
do, just a few hours just to get out of the house. And it just kept developing from
Mhm.
there. I learned more about fibers, learned more about yarn and dyers, and just got very intrigued about how this was done and,
Mhm.
who did this and could anyone do this, that kind of
Right.
thing. So I started the yarn actually for cast on, cast off. Um,
Okay.
I just assumed it would be just, a little cubby on the shelf down there. Um, I I knew that there was a need for local yarn.
Hmm.
So we always have people coming in and saying, "Where's the local?" So I knew that people craved that. So
Yes.
I thought, maybe I could just try it, put a few skeins out. So I did, and it actually sold out the first day. So
Wow.
yeah, it was like, whoa, that was exciting. So I did a few more, and then unfortunately, Katie announced that she was selling the store.
Yeah.
So it went from being, in her shop to going online,
Hmm.
which is very difficult, as you know, to try to buy yarn online when you can't feel it and touch it. And
Yeah,
it's such a physical thing that you need to hold
for
yarn and
sure.
see if it's going to work. So I did a few pop-up shops downtown, and then I thought, I wonder, could I just rent a little space?
Yeah.
So fortunately, I found the perfect spot in a little shop called the Artisan Loft.
Hmm.
And so I have a space in the back and it's on level, street level, so it's great to, just access for locals. And yeah, so that's worked. It's been
That's
like a
fabulous.
dream, like you said.
It's interesting that you say about that transition from being at cast on, cast off to selling online.
Yeah.
I think that as creators, we're getting a little more used to I call it taking chances on the online buying. But,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, aside from not being able to touch the fiber and, things like that, there's a real kind of disconnection between the colorway that you see on the screen and the actual color of
Yeah.
the yarn. I think sometimes it gets not, it's pretty close, but I think
Yes.
I mean, I know I've purchased some yarn that didn't look anything as I was expecting it to. Not that
I
that was bad,
Yeah.
but you know, when you have something in mind, it really is good to, and when you're investing as well
Yeah.
into hand dyed, right?
Yeah.
It's not as cheap as going to
No,
Michael's or Walmart and picking up, a commercially produced yarn, right?
that's
So you want
right.
to make sure
Yeah.
you're getting exactly what you want. Yeah,
Yeah. It's that, and it's also the personal connection. There's
for
something about
sure.
meeting somebody who's buying your yarn and meeting somebody who's producing the yarn. You know,
Yeah,
there's just that, um, you know, it's almost like a friendship
yeah,
develops. Like I have so many regulars that come in now, and it's like it's so good to see them.
right.
And you don't get that from online.
No,
You know,
no, you don't. You're right. You're right.
it's a nice
So I'm
connection.
going to try and share my screen, and so we can show a couple shots of your shop. Let me just get this here. There we go. Whoops.
Yeah, so this is taken from the shop is actually 2 stories. So my area is downstairs, but it's open to the upstairs. So the owner just took a couple of shots looking down into the shop. So that's why the angle is it's not a
Right.
drone.
It's really amazing though.
So
And I
yeah.
like the neutrality of now, do you find that the neutrality of the walls and the floor makes a difference in showing off the colorway?
Yeah, so part of the reason is that this is an art gallery. So
Okay.
she sells art from local artists. Um, so everything is done up to kind of display artwork. So I
Okay.
do find I often tell people that hand-dyed yarn, is more art than it is science. You know,
Yes.
it really is like painting on yarn. So I think it works really well.
Fabulous. And you got lots of people in there. So that's amazing. The next thing that came up for me is your creative process. And you wrote to me that you are very much inspired by Newfoundland Labrador, where you live,
Mhm.
which of course is phenomenally beautiful.
Hmm.
I mean, the East Coast of Canada is such an amazing place to live, and
Like,
just such a plethora of beauty, no matter where you look. Um, and I think, living in this environment really lends itself to this type of creativity, right? I mean, it's because it surrounds us.
yeah.
Um, I am, as you know, a wildly passionate supporter of Canadian makers. Um, I'm not adverse to creators and makers from other countries, but I
Yeah.
think that we have such a beautiful wealth of designers such as yourself and creators all over this country that there's no need for us to go elsewhere.
Yeah,
Um, so
true.
when you are getting into that kind of creative space where you're thinking about, okay, what's coming next, what's going to be for fall or things like that, do you have that already planned, or are you just really going off of inspiration in the moment?
I think it's definitely a combination of both. I
Okay,
know when I first started it, I immediately started thinking of Christmas. And there was just so many colorways calling out to me, like Christmas in the Harbor, just
sure.
things that we celebrate here as a culture that I wanted to put into a yarn. So in those ways, I had planned ahead of time, and
Okay.
probably 6 months ahead of time, I was thinking about it. There's other colorways that I just wondered if I could do it, such
Mhm.
as, Labradorite and just things that are in my mind. And I thought, can I make that come out on a piece of yarn? That,
Right.
that. So those were all planned ahead of time. There's other ones that somebody will just say to me, like I had a friend say, oh, you have to do Jig's dinner, which I thought, how can you do
Right.
something like that on a skein of yarn? So, there's some things that are just kind of, I guess, a little bit of a joke just to see,
Sure.
that would be fun.
Yeah.
And they're just in the moment. Or I see driving around, that reminds me of
Mhm.
such and such. And we went for a trip to Gross Morn, and we were walking
Mm,
the beach in Shallow Bay, and I fell in love with just the beach. And
sure.
it's a very neutral color, but people love it. I love
Yes.
it. Just a creamy
Yes.
sand color.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little bit of everything, but I find it's constant. Like I'm never thinking, I wonder, will I run out of ideas? It's just, what it's like. Like
Yeah.
it's all around us,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
it's and if
So
it's not sure, it's
let's go
a
back to lab I can't even
Labradorite.
thank you. Let's go back to that. I'm going to
Sure,
share my
yeah,
screen again because I want you to talk about your process here.
sure.
So let me just oh, there we go. Share. Okay. So
Yeah.
can we just see the beauty in this?
Yeah, so I just loved this. And I wanted to not just pick out the colors and be able to put the color onto the yarn, but I love the shine, and I
Mhm.
didn't want that to be lost. So pretty well the only base I do this on is the silk, because I like the shine that comes through. It almost
Mm,
does look like a gemstone. So yeah, I it's just many layers,
it's
and
beautiful.
thank you.
Oh,
It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of
mhm.
work. It's not it's not as fast as some of my other colors, but I just think it's so worth it, and it has become a bestseller. So
I can see why. I mean, just look at it. It just it flows, if that makes sense.
yeah, that's what I wanted. I wanted
Yeah.
it not to look like just colors that were, separate. It had to kind of work and flow together,
Hmm.
and, bring it as natural as possible. But
Oh, so
yeah, so I was
beautiful.
happy with that one.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Oh.
Thank you.
So the other things that you do a lot of partnerships, and you were speaking to me about some of the fundraising partnerships that you do. Can you share some of that with us?
Yeah, so I was approached by Linda Ryan a couple of years ago. She's a lady who has just done incredible work fundraising for a place called Daffodil House,
Mhm.
and it's here in St. John's. And um, they take in, or they open up. Um, it's like a hotel, basically, but you can go
Okay.
there and stay. If you're not from St. John's, you come into the city for cancer treatment. You can go there and stay, and your expenses are covered.
Wow.
And they will even transport you back and forth to the hospital for treatment and your meals. And it's just an incredible place to go.
Right.
So I developed a few colorways
Mhm.
that were just for Daffodil Place, and $10 from each skein would go back to Daffodil Place. And so, yeah, the first year we donated $1,000, which covered,
Wow.
yeah, so that covered 10 nights. So they're $100 per night. So that was great. And then last year we did the same thing again. So I will be bringing out a new colorway
Yeah.
in April for this year.
Mhm.
And hopefully we'll do the same thing again. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's just been such a blessing to be part of that.
for sure.
It's an amazing, amazing place.
And I mean, that just goes to the spirit of, being a good community member, right? Like that just all the way around makes life so much easier for people who have to travel that route.
Absolutely.
But also you creating a beautiful colorway just for that specific reason,
Yeah.
and people are able to purchase that colorway, and get the not only the joy of the beautiful yarn, but the also, knowing that they're helping in some
Right.
small way, right? So yeah,
Yeah.
that's incredible. I
Yeah.
love that
And
story.
I also do, I help with a fundraiser for a church here called the Kirk. And all
Okay.
the yarn colors are based off their stained glass windows.
Oh, that's beautiful. How can you go wrong with that?
Yeah, so that's also worked out really well. So
Fabulous. Oh,
it's fun.
that's amazing. So I was, of course, perusing your website as I do. And I noticed that you also stock yellow petal handmade project
Yes,
bags. Aren't
yes.
those lovely?
Yes, that was fun as well. So
Oh,
the fabric is designed by a local artist, Lori
okay.
Judy. So her fabrics are for sale here, and they're the berries.
Yeah.
So the Newfoundland berries, the blueberries, partridge berries, and bag apples. So yes, Penelope thankfully could
Oh,
just put those together in the most beautiful uh, project bags.
yeah.
And she
They're
does incredible
beautiful.
work. Yeah.
And she's so talented. I was
Yeah.
happy to meet her at Woolstock East
Oh, nice.
this past fall, and oh, her work is just gorgeous. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's just perfect.
yeah, another amazing East Coast maker. So there
Yes.
we go. Okay, so now I want to talk to you about some of the amazing people who have visited you and who you have visited by means of being an amazing indie dyer. So I'm going to share my screen one more time, and you're going to talk to us about some of these great people.
Mhm.
All right, here we go. So we'll start right here with this beautiful woman.
Yes.
Uh,
Shirley has been a great support. She's just such a lovely lady. So she's, yeah, one of the authors of the Saltwater books,
yeah.
and she's just come out with another book last fall, Big Splash Knits.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm just so blessed to know her, and she's been very encouraging, and
Mm-hmm.
she stops by, and we have a little chat and a laugh, and
Oh,
yeah,
that's
she's just
fabulous.
wonderful.
Her books are amazing. I have a couple
Yes.
of them as well. And just, the simplicity in the designs, but
Yeah,
the way that she's able to bring the East Coast into the designs is
absolutely.
is
I really
fabulous.
appreciate that because, a
Yeah.
part of my reason for starting this was, yeah, I mean, my two loves are knitting and Newfoundland.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and she's the same way. Like she just brings such a love of the province and the
Right.
culture into all of her patterns. Yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. I'll be sure to link to her books for sure. And then next up, we have the incomparable Joji Locatelli, of course. Tell
Yeah.
me about your experience meeting her.
So I was fortunate enough to go on a knitting cruise last June. I went with my two sisters, little sisters getaway,
Nice.
and it was the Grocery Girls Knits.
Oh,
And we met Hohi and the Grocery Girls in Tin Can Knits.
oh,
So all three of those were like,
right. Royalty.
they were the top of the top.
Yeah.
So it was a dream, and I just thought, just to be able to sit across the room and say, oh, that's the instructors, but it wasn't like that. They were just um, so friendly,
Mm.
so authentic, and this first picture, Hohi just walked in and sat down next to me and chatted for a couple of hours, and it just felt like you're meeting up with one of your best friends.
Oh,
So
that's
um,
fabulous.
she's incredible,
Yeah.
and then in August she was doing another cruise to Iceland, and
Hmm.
St. John's was one of the stops.
Oh,
So I met her down at the cruise ship,
mhm.
and we went for a little hike, and then she dropped into the shop later and picked up some yarn, and I was
Oh,
just
that's
like,
even better.
it
Oh,
was
that's
quite the moments. Yeah.
yeah, that's amazing. And then finally, of course, we have the lovely Leanne, the Knitty Stew here, and the
Yes,
beautiful Grocery Girls.
exactly. Yeah. And Leanne is another person that has just been so supportive.
Mm.
She bought my yarn from the very beginning when it was for sale at Cast On, Cast Off. She walked in, probably within the first month and bought some yarn and knit a sweater and talked about it on her podcast. And she's been back a couple of times since.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
she's lovely. And of course, the Grocer Girls
yeah.
that was at the cruise.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
amazing.
Oh my
I was
goodness.
fortunate enough a little while ago to do some knitting for Tracy. So I knit a few sweaters for her. So
Oh,
that was
dude.
a lot of
Yes.
fun. Yeah,
Actually, I did see that.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I knit her a turtle dove two.
Yeah.
And I knit her, what else did I knit her? A love, not a love note. Oh, a couple. She sent me some amazing yarn from it was
Frankie
called
Gray.
Ghost Fibers. I did knit a
Oh,
lot with her Frankie Gray.
yeah.
I do actually have a few of my own sweaters made from Frankie
Yes.
Gray. So yeah,
Yeah.
so amazing yarn for sure.
Yeah. She was
Excellent.
great to chat to, and just as
Yeah.
another dyer, and
Yes.
just yeah, so encouraging and so open and friendly. And yeah, I can't say enough about any of them. Like they're
Yeah.
just
I
amazing.
think the willingness of designers such as yourself to share knowledge with other designers is something that I don't know if it's unique to crafting, but I can't recall another industry where I see people sharing almost proprietary information freely because
Yeah.
you want to have the we want people to succeed. We want, the
Agree.
craft to continue on. We want to make these types of special colorways and things like that available to everybody, right?
Yeah, and the way I look at it, for the most most dyers are female led,
Mhm.
and I just love encouraging more women into business.
Right.
And I also just like I just believe in building each other up.
Yeah,
Like I
for sure.
don't think anyone's going to lose, and
Yeah,
I don't feel that you can really give away secrets because it's a piece of art. It's like
that's right.
one painter worrying about another painter,
Mhm.
Everybody's going to do things so differently.
Fair
So
enough.
I don't know. That's not
Yeah,
something that stays in my mind that I worry about.
sure, sure. So what's next for Windswept Fibers and Designs? What's coming up next?
Whew, I have a few new bases that
Hmm.
I'm bringing out. I don't really plan a whole lot other than, I just take it as it comes. I'm just
Hmm.
very excited about the process, and I love meeting people. And
Yeah,
then I sometimes just go with their ideas. If they say, "Oh, what about?" And then I look it up and I say, "That's a great
sure.
idea.
Yeah,
Let's try that." So, yeah, I'm just hoping that things continue as
awesome.
going. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay,
Yes.
so I'm going to make sure that all of your socials are down below in the show notes so people can get a hold of you. But if somebody wants to reach out, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Well, you can always email Pam at
Okay.
windsweptfibres.com. But I check my like the socials
Hmm.
or Instagram, I'd say you're not going to wait more than an hour
Okay,
that, yeah, reply back. So that's usually the quickest.
fabulous.
But yeah, any of those will work. If you don't,
Okay,
if you social media, definitely email would
okay,
work.
perfect. I'll make sure that all that info is down below. And then finally, if you could, if you could knit one pattern only for the rest of your life, what would that pattern be?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough one because I have I am not a monogamous knitter.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
always have like seven because it's like a dog with a squirrel,
that's
like if
right.
time I
Yeah.
see a new one, I want to try that. Um, oh, I don't know. I don't think I can answer that.
Okay. I want you to take that away and think about it.
Okay.
And then
Sounds very cruel.
before we put the podcast up live, which is coming out on April the 6th, by the way, um, we're gonna have that answer for everybody.
Okay. I
Okay.
will think about it. That's
Okay. It is a tough one because you're right. Every time you turn around and you open up Ravelry, there's these brand new hot
yes,
right now patterns, and it's like, oh, I have yarn for
yes,
that, or I know where
exactly.
to get yarn for that.
Yeah, I would say if I had to pick something, it would be a pretty basic plain sweater without any
Yeah.
embellishment, just to do a straight stocking stitch and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Are you a
But
process knitter or a product knitter?
oh, definitely process.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I do like getting the product done so I can get on to the next one.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's almost like to finish it is not the goal.
No.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
I want to see what I can learn from the next one. And I tend to always pick something that I'm learning something new. So,
Fabulous. Love,
which is
love
not that
that.
hard because there's so many different
That's
techniques,
right.
cast ons and.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's definitely a process.
absolutely. Well, Pam, thank you so much for spending some time with us. I really appreciate it. Your yarn is beautiful. Oh, so beautiful. Must go, must look, must shop.
Thank
So,
you so much for having me. And I would add, I definitely do custom dyeing and
okay.
orders. So if
Okay.
somebody looks on the website and they say, "Oh, I wish I had that in a different base," or, I have no problem taking custom orders. I do it all,
Okay. Perfect.
and for rug hookers or whatever. So yeah, I forgot to
Okay, awesome.
earlier.
I'll put that in the notes too as well, for sure. That's good to know for
Yeah.
future.
Well, it was lovely to talk to you, Anne. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Take good care now. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.